friends, and welcome to the 20th episode of All New Snap Judgments. As always, I'm Roy Rogers, and I'm joined by my friend and yours, Aaron Glazer. How are you doing here at the midway point of spooky season, and also an even more important holiday week?
I'm great. Really happy that Marvel Snap turns 1 year old. It is now a toddler, so it's eating solid foods. We're all about the 1 year anniversary of Marvel Snap. We got a lot special planned for you for it.
Awesome. So, Glazer, in honor again of that awesome 1 year, we're approaching, of course, also the 1 year anniversary of the podcast, which is let's see, this is technically the 48th episode, so it's like, 6 episodes away? Even less than that. Yeah, 4 episodes away, from when we will hit 1 year. What are we going to do to celebrate Marvel Snap's 1 year anniversary?
So, we got some giveaways and stuff. One of the easiest ones is commenting on this video, as long as you're subbed, enters you to win the 1 year anniversary pass from Snap. So I will happily buy that for, I think we're going with 3, was what we discussed with the Marvel Snap people. 3 of the, whatchamacallit, anniversary bundle for commenting on this video. But more importantly, more interestingly, better, we've got the principal game designer of Marvel Snap, Mr. Glenn Jones. Hi, Glenn.
Hello, everyone. Great to be on the show.
Really excited to have you on, Glenn. Thank you so much for joining
Happy
us.
to.
All right, Aaron. Who is our other special guest that will help us pry as much news as we possibly can from Port
So news is the appropriate word here because we have Marvel Snap Views himself, Braude. We are joined by him because since like half of his life is spent retweeting Glenn, we feel like it's probably worthwhile for them to actually meet. Hi, Braude. How are you?
Hello. I'm great as well.
Well, we're happy to have you on. All right. Everyone knows where to find Glenn. You should go to his socials on social media, the official Marvel Snap Discord. Braude, where can our loyal listeners find you, though, on social media if they needed to engage with you?
On Twitter, I have the Marvel Snap Bugle account and Braude Snap, and on Twitch, I'm just Braude.
Awesome. I will real quick run through where you can engage with us on social media. We are at Snap Judge Cast on Twitter, X, or whatever Elon Musk is calling his social media when he wakes up in the morning. We are, of course, the official Marvel Snap Zone podcasting partner. We're really excited to be part of their community. We're really excited to be on their YouTube channel where you're finding this content if you're watching the video. And you should go out and join their Discord. It is the best fan-run large Discord. Great community. Glazer's in there answering your questions. Just being an all-around awesome dude. And if you want to be an all-around awesome dude with Glazer, you should join Marvel Snap Zone's Discord. Our email is snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com. We are on everyone's favorite extinct animal social media platform, Mastodon at Snap Judgments with an E at tabletop.vip. And finally, last but not least, we are on YouTube with Glazer's Daily Snap Takes at Snap Judgments Pod. Glazer, if our loyal listeners became our loyal viewers, what would they find on the YouTube?
Right now we're doing yet another giveaway of that bundle. But more than that, I'm going to bully Braude into sending me this deck he's got a crazy good win percentage with so that I can talk about that as you're watching this video.
Awesome. All right, let's jump right into our first set of questions for Glenn. Glazer, why don't you kick him off?
All right.
Kick us off.
Time to brag, Glenn. When did you realize you're good at what you do?
I'm not much of a braggart, I will admit. But I think it was probably like when I really thought I was kind of catching this game design thing and understanding what was going on, was when I started taking a leadership role on the commander team at Wizards of the Coast for Magic the Gathering. And I continued to grow in that position, and it was kind of a spot where I really started fusing an understanding of both like making cool game pieces, but also reconciling that with like, how do you make a cool product? How do you fit that product into a larger scheme of products? How does that scheme of products affect the bottom line of $1 billion corporation? Like, those are the once I started doing that kind of like math and thinking through exactly how to kind of go about my day-to-day life in that world, I think that was where I was like, okay, I have a unique role here and a solid set of talents, and I'm turning my experience into something pretty meaningful.
Glenn, real quick before Glazer or Braude asks the next question, I have a quick sort of contextual question for our listeners. You are now, what is officially your title again I
am principal game designer.
Awesome. And what was your sort of like, if you could just give us sort of the TLDR of sort of your game design history before you came and worked on Marvel Snap for 6
Sure, yeah. For most people, it starts with the games they were playing when they were a kid, and that's true for me too. My first card game was Magic, unlike a lot of people. And from there, I played a bunch of stuff, Pokemon, a bunch of anime card games like Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, stuff like that, Yu-Gi-Oh! As well. And I always played Magic. I got into poker about the same time a lot of Magic players got into poker, but I wasn't as good as many of those Magic players turned out to be, which just was unfortunate for me. So I went into content creation and content management for a long time. I worked for Star City Games, kind of building up their SCG Live tour when that was roving the countryside for Magic tournaments. Met a lot of cool people that way. And then from there, I kind of moved into distribution and sales very briefly before going to Wizards, where I worked on editing card sets. But I moonlighted on a few design teams, and that kind of continued to spiral, which got me into game design properly.
Awesome. All right, Braude, next question then.
What's the biggest difference between your design philosophy and the previous regime?
First off, I will say, since I haven't had a chance quite to say thanks to Braude for running an excellent Twitter account. It's super useful to everyone. I would encourage you to follow it. I definitely didn't expect that account to exist, and then once it did, I was like, wow, this is so great. So yeah, thanks for that and kudos. But as far as the differences,
Thank you very much.
Those are a little trickier for me. Like I wasn't here during the previous regime, obviously, but I also don't think it's so much that like we operate especially differently. I'm coming in. Everyone we have experienced TCG designers at Snap besides myself. Like obviously, Ben Bro is a huge name in the space, and but the focus of Snap before I got there was launching the game, right? Like it was in beta, and then October 18th it launched, and 2 months later I was hired. So like that was what, the singular focus was, launching the game and getting it through that state. So I would say I think it was really more that like it was kind of time for me to come on, as opposed to like a distinct shift in how cards should be evaluated or designed, because they had to go from we have like 400 cards and we're figuring out which ones to launch to we got to start making card 401. Like that's a different world. So I think that's probably the biggest difference, is how much more like active creation is going on now versus the year before I was hired, because at that point it was mostly just refining.
So a question for going forward, are we going to continue to see skip weeks the same week that season passes come
out? You certainly will for some amount of future. That's the best I can give you right now. Well, stay tuned, I suppose.
Fair enough.
In the medium term, I guess.
If we'll get more cards, I will just work with the shop.
All right, Braude, I know question 4 here is one that's close to your heart, so I'll let you ask him this one.
Yeah, we know you're not exactly responsible for this, but are there any news you can share or give about series drops or series with future or anything?
No, not really. Sorry to dud 2 answers in a row, but that stuff is largely owned by the product team and a number of other people who work on Snap, and really it's theirs to talk about. I don't want to step on their toes, but I know Steve and Jared, our director of product, has put some responses in the Discord on the topic, so I would encourage anyone who's interested to go there for kind of our stay tuned responses from him. But it is something that it's very important to us and that we are talking about actively, like literal today,
Awesome. So something that is more about your sort of specific area. So was there a design shift, a shift in design philosophy on season pass cards after Dakin? It sort of felt like Loki and Elsa have been a little bit more powerful than than some of the other season pass cards that we've had. So have you all shifted sort of where you're trying to get those cards to land, or is it just happenstance?
it's not just happenstance, but it's not a shift in philosophy. What we've actually been doing all year is running a variety of, I guess the best word for them is kind of experiments. Like, what if a season was like this? What if a season was like that? So, like we had, and really dates back to when I kind of started, which was Nebula, which is what if a season pass card wasn't like pointed really strongly at a specific archetype? Like we'd seen, Zabu and Silver Surfer and MODOK and Nimrod. And it's like, okay, what if a card was just good? And that's Nebula, right? Nebula's just good. So from there, we kind of continued like, okay, next season, let's try something else. Like Phoenix season. Okay, what if the card is like, a little higher on complexity, but it's telling like a strong story? Like how does that go? We had Ghost Spider, obviously, which is another, like, what if the card was relatively simple? And that she is a very simple and clean and appealing card. So it was just, Dagon's just another piece of that story. Like, what if the season was built around the season pass card? Like, every card in the set, or in that season, works directly with Dagon. Like, you can put them all into one deck, and you'll have a great time. You can go and build 4 different decks. You'll theoretically also have a good time. So that was that one. And then, Loki season has a lot more of like, okay, this season we're going to try and like really knock the metagame kind of around and put some cards in that are going to change how people play. So that's kind of been our approach, and we're taking data every time we run a season, looking through it and seeing like, okay, like how did people like that? Like what can we take away? Which cards were successful? Why were they successful? As we do it more, I feel more and more inclined that the answer is going to wind up being, we want a mix of these things. Like we don't want every season to use the same kind of formula, but we're trying to figure out which formulas at what frequency, basically. Loki season has had a really major impact on the metagame. Of course, obviously Elsa immediately following, similarly strong. And for what it's worth, I do think on both of those cards, they missed higher than we targeted them for balance. So I'm not here to say like Loki was perfectly balanced. I think he was much closer than most people believe. But yeah, like that's, and ditto, Elsa's probably actually, I think, farther from the target than Loki. Like, I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to say. So yeah, there are 2 things going on here. One of which is like, yeah, we did miss our targets high twice in a row, basically, which we're going to miss targets high and low. That's just the reality of the business and of game design and balance in the first place. But so yeah, it's really a confluence of multiple things that just kind of lined up.
Well, quick follow-up before we move on to the next one. Is there a season sort of since you've been the principal designer that you found has been like really successful and like something that you can point to and be like, this is a season that sort of we at Second Dinner thought was like a great season that sort of hit our goals and maybe even hit what we thought the players would expect?
Yeah, we have, obviously we have a lot of data about like the actual performance of the season, but I think that kind of the idealized season for us is probably the Spider-Verses. Like it was, we had a great media release to tie into with Across the Spider-Verse. We had a fun set of cards that people could really get attached to. Spider people are just in general super popular, and no small thanks to the movie. The cards were relatively clean. Not every card performed super strong, but as we've seen, like they have all had their time in the sun, more or less, and they were all like great cards. Like I don't really have any issues with any of them. And yeah, that season just did. It also was a solid performer for us. Like people, bought the pass, they enjoyed the pass, and even though we wound up buffing Ghost Spider later, she was a fun card at the time too.
Braude, you want to take us question 6 there?
Yeah, as a follow-up to what you said about Loki, it's also related. Like, are there any difference between Ladder and Conquest, or Omar and Omar? Like, I think it's more among like at least some high-level players. He's thinking that Loki is like a very good card at high level, but it's just at low level.
I've heard that a little bit. I'm not sure I hold to this exactly that ideal. There's a little bit of self-fulfilling prophecy in it, right? Like if everyone thinks the card is the best card and they're also the best players and they choose to play the card they think is the best card and they keep winning against the other people playing the best card or not playing the best, like they will, eventually convince themselves like, oh, it's the best card. We've actually seen this with Sarah for months. There were many months where I've seen Sarah like at the top of tier lists since I joined Marvel Stab, but I'd like go and check on our internal data. I'm like, I would not play Sarah right now. But that's just players, especially top tier tournament players, tend to really like decks that give them a ton of agency and can answer whatever your opponent has to throw at you. And very frequently, if you're taking their deck, you're going to have whatever they have to throw at you, which is very, pretty reasonable defense. So I do think there is some amount of like strong players are better at playing Loki than weaker players. Like that's very likely true, but that's true of essentially every deck that has meaningful interaction and cares about, you know, the order and the places that they play their cards in a lot. Like the skill edge with Shuri is probably smaller, right? But it's still, there's still a skill edge there. Like it's not absent. And High Evo kind of ditto. Like, so I think Loki just happens to be a deck that's a confluence of a lot of decisions that you can make in a lot of different ways. Like even a lot, just figuring out what turn to play Loki on is a really good example, right? Like you have to be a strong player to know the right turn and the right matchup.
So sort of narrow in there. You know, you were a Magic designer, right? Cards are designed for Commander, Modern, Standard. At Second Dinner, do you design cards with the different formats of Ladder, Conquest, any future formats in mind? Or do you just sort of release cards in sort of general and sort of doesn't matter where they land, neither Ladder or Conquest?
I mostly don't consider the formats very strongly. Like Conquest is awesome. I enjoy playing a lot of Conquest myself, but the majority of our play does take place on Ladder, and that's where we kind of really target our designs towards and what we think about when we make sure, like, okay, you know, is this fun? We're certainly going to, as we get more and more data around Conquest and how more and more seasons have performed with it live, I think we might see some shifts. There are some things I'm interested in, like trying out about what we can actually change about game modes that are more important to me than specific cards. But that's definitely like a potential direction where we have to be like, okay, maybe this card is just really annoying in Conquest and we don't want to do it. Like that's totally, that could be true. I don't think we've hit a card where I felt like it crossed that line yet, but I think it's fair to say we've come kind of close. Like playing against Loki, certainly in Conquest, like getting your whole deck played against you like for 4 or 5 games in a row. I could understand that being frustrating.
So could I ask you to expand upon what other things you were thinking of changing that weren't card specific?
I've talked a little bit about it publicly already in the past. Just like, you know, people often rumor mill kind of about location batching, which I would really love to be able to do. So that's the kind of thing that I think would be really fun. Like if you could hit ego in, you know, ladder play, but not in Conquest, that would be cool. If, you know, I think there's even just it could be cool to have a month where like all of the locations are space themed. And that's just like how that works. Like maybe that's interesting. That's the kind of direction where I would like to have that kind of tooling available. And that's technology we're going to work on. We just have, you know, a lot of things to triage.
All right, Glenn, real quick, because I do want Glazer to ask 7th question here, but I want to put the truthers to bed now. You all are not location batching right now, right? In Ladder, right?
No.
Okay, boom. All right, there we go.
I wish we could. I really do.
Out of context.
Not on purpose. Not on purpose.
All right, truthers. Sorry to break your heart. All right, Glazer, ask the next one.
We sort of actually already covered this, but do you keep in mind anything besides Ladder versus Conquest? Like, how do you design for example, Series 2 players and Series 3 incomplete players for like a Season Pass card, or how competitive a player is? How do you design for all those people at once?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. I think like Phoenix Season was a good example of like maybe that was one where our Season Pass card wasn't friendly enough to Series 1, 2, or early Series 3 players. Like it's like the card's kind of difficult to figure out how to build a deck. You need some pretty specific cards to build the best versions of the deck. And we were optimistic that like the story of the card is enough that players can get excited about it because it's, you know, Phoenix has such a great story. And I think the card tells that story well in a fun like what if way. But yeah, I think that's a good example of a card that new players probably struggled with a little relative to something like Ghost Spider or Nebula, and even Loki, which is a hard card. But like, if you're a new player, you can have a lot of fun with Loki. You don't necessarily, you're not confused. Mm-hmm. You might not play him optimally, but you'll have a good time. And I think we saw a lot of that as well. So that's kind of where a lot of my focus is like, what's appealing to a new player versus an experienced player? Where do those needs like overlap? And how can we best serve both sides? The largest consideration for new players is certainly in OTAs, where we have to be like very careful about how we adjust cards that might impact the new player experience. So yeah.
So as a game complete player, my favorite Season Pass card ever is Phoenix. I love that damn card. It's so cool.
Yeah, one of my favorite cards as well.
Braude?
I don't know if you know, but I know that there's a 6-3 bot deck that still plays Hawkeye.
I have relayed that to somebody. I'm optimistic it will get resolved. It's admittedly not super high on our list of like things to fix, but yeah, somebody will get in there and adjust that.
About like infinite players, like they're like a small amount. Like, can you share about how the amount
I
or
cannot.
not? No. But yeah, but like they make like I'm assuming they make like the majority of they make all the noise online. Like they talk about all the decks and stuff. How do you deal with that?
I mean, I want the game to be fun for both sides, certainly. I mean, the leaderboard that we recently released is one of our steps towards serving that audience, obviously, a lot more than the newer player or the silent majority, as we might say, on Twitter. But yeah, like it's, the infinite players are highly engaged. We kind of know loosely like what they enjoy. Obviously, like different groups of players enjoy lots of different things. So we want to constantly be offering a really diverse spread, and also just pushing things around. Like one of our biggest learnings from that Shuri metagame much earlier in the year was like people really just don't like something being static for like 2 to 3 months. Like that's just a long time for the same thing to be the best thing. So I understand some frustration around things like Eliath. You're like, oh, that's not my cup of tea. But A, like, it is somebody's cup of tea. And B, like, the game is very different from what it was a month ago. And a month from now, it might be even more different. And so on and so forth.
So, okay, go ahead, Roy.
Go
you
ahead.
have a live thought. Go. I have a live
Okay.
thought.
So, no, go ask her. You have an live thought? I was going to.
Okay, so yeah, I would like to. So, Eliath is clearly a Priority Matters card. Is there a plan to further emphasize Priority Matters in such a way where, like, you benefit greatly from Priority, or do you feel like Eliath does that job himself?
Eliath certainly does a lot more of that job than the average card would. Certainly, I would say, if you're trying to make like one shot, he was a pretty hard shot. He had a huge impact on making that kind of play important. But I do think there's more design space there, and I intend to pursue it and keep finding like more interesting spots to mess with it. It was something like I used to play a game called the World of Warcraft TCG, one of my many TCGs, and one of the things I liked about that game was they put a fair amount of effort into trying to figure out how to mitigate the player who goes first advantage, because it was very high in that game relative to some other TCGs. But we saw Hearthstone would eventually invent the coin, which would have been really great for a World of Warcraft TCG, I think. But yeah, they made some like really specific cards that were just like actively good if you were going second. They had some that literally said if you were going second this game, but I preferred subtler designs. So that's kind of where I draw a little bit of inspiration. It's like, hey, what are the cards where we can make it so that having priority is good, but like, it's subtle. Like you learn and discover why it's good, as opposed to just saying like, yeah, if you had priority, this does its thing.
So power creep, which is sort of the bugaboo of both players and I think game designers. Marvel Snap is a 12-card game, making it, I think, one of the smallest card games ever made, and that's really unique. It's even certainly different than Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! And even Hearthstone, Ben Bro's last game. So are you ever afraid that what could happen is once an archetype, let's say Destroy is an example, right? That there's 12 really good Destroy cards. The only way that deck is ever going to change is if you print some kind of busted or power creeped up deck. Like, is that something that is a big concern for you all? And I guess more generally, like, how does the 12 card deck both constrain and open up design space for you all?
Yeah, the biggest difference, this is kind of designery, but like one of the things at Wizards that often gets talked about is kind of like the idea of parasitic design, which is like it essentially refers to game design that kind of feeds into itself. It doesn't connect with your larger collection. Examples of parasitic mechanics from Magic might be like Poison or Infect, which change what your damage does. It's like, well, if you deal poison damage and then deal regular damage, it's like you didn't do one of those things. You're only going to kill them with one. So, that's an example of a design space that can be fairly parasitic. And normally you kind of want to steer clear of that, because cards that go into wide collections, you're like pretty excited about in Magic. I think for Snap, that parasitic design is actually one of the better ways to make a lot of small decks really interesting. It's like if you have a Destroy deck that does one specific thing, like Phoenix, as an example, like Phoenix Destroy decks and Null Destroy decks or whatever are very different animals. They share a decent number of cards. They play totally differently, and there are definitely cards I can invent that will go in the Phoenix deck and not the Null deck, and vice versa. And that's kind of, I think, the correct approach, is to kind of keep splintering out these genres into a lot of different versions, that have different fantasies and different exciting moments, and inventing new ones. Like, I think that's also something kind of interesting that we'll have to keep working towards. I think that Phoenix Force was kind of both in a nice fun way. Ghost Spider kind of did a similar thing in that, like, you didn't used to be able to kind of target your move attacks in that way, and now all of a sudden you can. Move is a totally different deck, even though it then departed. And like Silk Craven versus the Vulture Iron Fist decks, like, again, very move decks in both in their own way, but totally different. So that's my approach, I think, to making sure that we continue to make interesting decks and open up more and more slots, so to speak, because 2 move decks is 24 cards, not 12. Obviously, they probably overlap some, so it's closer to 18, but that's still a lot more. And then as far as like, are we afraid to hit a point? Like, that part of our balance philosophy is adopting that like MOBA-esque strategy of like, we just change things. Like, it's okay that a card will be reworked. That we want that to be comfortable. We want players to get used to that. We're not looking to like throw cards that people love, into the blender and have something totally different come out. But every now and then, like, we'll probably wind up doing something like that, because that's one of the ways that we're going to be able to rotate through things and move a card from one deck to another, or create space for something else to live. And sometimes I don't think it's going to, I think that won't go that well, right? Sometimes, I think Elsa is not exactly this, but it's kind of in the space where we're like, okay, if we want to make this Elsa card, which we think has a pretty fun little mini game to be playing with, like figuring out how to constantly fill your location. That means we gotta weaken Kitty, because Kitty makes that mini game way too easy. And we were happy to invent Kitty, but we also want to invent this mini game. So there's a natural kind of conflict in having both of those cards exist. And so I get that how that can be kind of tense for people. People didn't like that Kitty got nerfed because of Elsa, and it doesn't help that Elsa came in too strong as well. Like, I think if Elsa had hit her mark better, if both sides would be a lot happier with that situation. But that's obviously like kind of long-winded, but that's roughly my approach, is like keep creating more space, keep finding new things to do, and in a pinch, like, maybe some things have to change to create a new thing or to leave room for a new version.
Can I ask a follow-up question that I don't honestly expect you to answer?
I guess.
So is there any thought down the line to rotation?
We have not started talking about that at all yet. Obviously, like, it's a very popular thing to do in CCGs. I will say, me personally, like, one of the things I think is really cool about Marble Snap that made me excited to work on it was how much it tried to kind of break the mold of traditional card games. Like, 1 card a week, totally different. 12-card decks, totally different. There's so much in the game that's just very radically different from how other CCGs approach things. And I am optimistic that if we ever have to start talking about that, like, we will explore space that is once again radically different, because that's in the exciting thing, I think, to do for me.
Awesome.
So about the new cards, how often do they do what you thought they would do? Like, how often they impact the game? Or do you have any experience where they did or didn't do what you expected them to do?
I know I think I had a card in mind that would qualify for this, and now I've kind of lost it briefly. Mostly cards kind of do what we expect. Every now and then a card is good in a deck where maybe we didn't foresee it being good. I think like Nebula in the high Evo deck is a decent example. We knew Nebula is just a generically good card, but we didn't kind of expect the like Misty, Sunspot, Nebula trio of 1-drops to be like a tool that the high Evo deck uses to push priority early in the game, and that lets them play tech cards that we didn't really play test, like Cosmo at times or whatever. Like, we never put a Cosmo in our high Evo playtest decks. We were just like, wow, don't need that, don't have time for it. And so that was kind of an interesting thing. I don't even think Cosmo's like a strong card in high Evo now, obviously, but there were times where people could do things like that. So yeah, that's like, I think, a decent example of it happening. But we're not ever also trying to cover all of the ground. Like, I mean, if we could cover all the ground, we should probably change the card, because that means there's not like enough emergent, interesting stuff for people to find on their own. So if I were to think I've got like the best deck, the best 12 cards, and there isn't an interesting 13th card, that probably means the card should change. But generally speaking, things mostly go how we expect. Obviously, we can miss on strength because we can't push out the numbers. Like, in 1 hour, the world will have played more games than I've ever played with that card in any version. So
can I ask about 2 specific cards? Just because I'm curious, because the community was so wide. The community was wildly wrong on Legion and Jean Grey. Like, the
Yeah.
community's consensus was Legion was bad and Gene was going to be busted, and the opposite happened.
Yeah, Legion was interesting. I was fairly happy with Legion at 5-7 internally. And we've talked about, like, we wound up kind of doing a late power ad because, we do a lot of playtesting, and we also specifically query appeal. Like, we want to know if a card is fun, like if it's exciting, if it makes you want to own it. And there were, people who were like, didn't see exactly what to do with Legion, or exactly how impactful Legion would be. And some of that owes to, like, the nature of our playtesting. We have a wide range of players. Like, we don't skew especially competitive internal. We don't do as much playtesting in Conquest. We do a lot more playtesting in, like, single games on ladder, and they're obviously, lower stakes because nobody's too worried about losing their playtesting games. So there's a lot of things going on there that kind of change the math of exactly how you evaluate Legion. Like, knowing he's in your opponent's deck changes a lot of how strong he is, because it really just messes with your head. And also knowing, like, that you can seal 8 cubes with them, that's a much more meaningful thing. Like, that's a level, it feels more exciting when the cubes matter more. So yeah, I wound up deciding we could get away with adding one more power to him, just to kind of, like, make sure that people were convinced to play him. And I think that was one of our takeaways from Legion, was actually that we don't need to work that hard to convince people to play a card that we think might be strong. Like, even if it looks a little weak to start, it'll take streamers a day or two to really understand the card and start getting it into people's decks and showing them, like, oh, it can really do some stuff. Because that's exactly what happened with Legion, right? It was fairly panned, I think, by a lot of people on release. And then, within 24 hours of the release, YouTube was a bunch of people like, okay, this Legion card. So I'm excited with Legion. I'm pretty happy with it overall. But yeah, I think we had some takeaways of how to better manage appeal and strength and be more confident in our sense of balance on it.
Cool. Last question. You're at a pub after a tournament. You overhear a group talking. What do you want them to be saying about both you and about Snap?
Probably don't want them to be saying anything about me. That sounds anxiety inducing. But I guess nice things, or that they like the game. Obviously, like, for Snap, I mostly want them to be excited. Like, I don't, they can be mad but that's not going to be mad that much. It's really about, they're passionate about the game, they care about it, and that it's an additive experience to their lives. They're out there at a pub, and instead of doing whatever else you might do at a pub, instead of playing darts, you're talking about Snap and playing Snap and sharing it with your friends. I think that's awesome.
Awesome. All right. Thus ends the question and answer portion of our show. We're going to head to break. We don't actually have sponsors. This is a pretend break. But Braude is going to be heading out. So, Braude, thank you for joining us. Where can our listeners find you again?
Marvel Snap Bugle on Twitter, and Braude Snap on Twitter, and Braude on Twitch.
All right. Final thoughts for Glenn or for our listeners?
Thank you for having me.
We love you, man.
It's very insightful.
It's great to meet you.
Great to meet you too.
All right.
All right, friends, we are back, and we are joined for this segment by my friend and yours, fellow Marvel Snap Zone creator, Den. Den, it is so lovely to have you back on the show.
Thanks for having me so regularly. It's always a great time.
Awesome. And we still have Glenn trapped to join us for this very awesome game in honor of Snap's birthday. Aaron, what game are we going to be playing here?
We are going to do the top 5 cards at each cost slot. We're not just going to have Glenn be like, hey, Glenn, what's the cube rate on that? That's not fun and not informative. We're instead going to go through a whole list of costs at each cost slot, narrow down that list to 5 cards, and then fight over the ranking of them.
All right, let's jump into one-cost cards.
Okay, so how we'll do this, I will say a card, and then we'll go, I don't know, let's go alphabetical. Den, Glenn, Roy.
Okay.
Den, Glenn, Roy.
Okay.
So I'm going to say, I'll say the first card, and you say add it, cut it, and, I guess add it, cut it, or save it for later. And if there's any disagreement, then
just for context, add it is, I think it's top 5. Cut it, it's definitely not 5. Maybe is, I'm not sure. Let's see what else is in the pool.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then, like, if it's add it, and if someone says add it, and then someone else says cut it, then we will stop and talk. But if everyone just says add it, it goes on the list, and then we'll worry about order. All good?
All good.
All right, so let's start with Kitty Pryde.
Add it.
Add it.
Add it.
All right, Kitty is on the list. Next up, Sunspot.
Cut it.
Ooh.
Cut it.
Cut it. I'll follow the crowd on this one. My heart says that we shouldn't cut my poor man's Roberto, but
I feel like I should go last.
Okay.
It's a top 5. We have to be competitive immediately with the card. I mean,
right.
we already have 12 on the screen, and there's one that I think is top 5 and is not even on the list.
We'll get to that. That'll be the last thing we do. And let's change the order then. So we'll go Dan, Roy, Glenn. Cool.
all right, there we go.
And then I will only chime in if necessary because I'll just run this for now. All right. Next up, we have Nebula.
Add it.
I'm gonna say cut it.
I will also say cut it.
What?
Interesting.
What?
So let's discuss Nebula.
All right.
Glenn, as the cut it, what's your argument?
I think Nebula's an awesome card. Very, very happy with it overall. I think like right now in the context of the metagame, Nebula is not especially strong. It's kind of a Kitty Pryde Elsa world. Everyone's just living in it, and you don't even have to give up a competitive lane in order to keep a Nebula under control. Stashing her with a Professor X doesn't even necessarily beat like Jeff plus Elsa's stats. Like she ain't what she used to be in the current metagame.
I mean, it's hard to disagree with
definitely,
that, but
I definitely agree with it, except junk exists, and junk wants to know where people are going to play and actually leverage that information. If we remove junk, I completely agree with the argument. It's just there's a deck that actually takes all of this and abuses it. Maybe it's not enough to
I'm
call
not saying
Nebula.
she's not. I'm not saying she's not playable. To be clear, she's definitely like above 50% win rate card. Like I'm not trying to get to go that deep.
But okay, maybe she's not top 5. Okay,
I think that's what it is, right? Like she's good card,
yeah.
But like where contextually she's not great. Like is junk that great? I'm just saying like I enjoy playing Nebula, and I'm like the worst player who's currently on here, and I have not enjoyed the games that I play Nebula. Like she has not felt as powerful as she has felt in the past when I play her. And I look at other cards here that we're going to go through, and I definitely don't think she belongs in top 5, maybe 6, maybe 7, not top 5.
Okay.
I will add quickly that this is one cost is one of the most like competitive cost slots in the game, obviously. So I think that one cost is also one of the ones that changes the most. Like any given week, it could actually be like 4 card differences. Like that's not that unreasonable.
I mean, wait for the bloodbath that is 2 cost.
we need a top 25 probably.
Yeah. All right.
I think that's fair to say, but do we not know which ones are the 5 best? I don't know.
Well, we're gonna find out. All right. So Bass time. Den?
Oof. I think it's a debate. Like I have it from 5 to 7, but I'm not sure where. So it's I'm happy to hear everyone else's argument on Bast.
I am also a push, but leaning towards no.
I want to know.
So I was almost certainly a yes for Bast, but I am very handily outvoted. So Bast is gone somewhere without knowing why. Lambie is crying. Deadpool.
I mean, I can't put Deadpool top 5 because it's just one deck, and if we're putting Deadpool top 5, I have to put Human Torch over it, so I'm gonna say no.
I'm also gonna pass.
I will pass.
So that's 2 passes, which means we're gonna rediscuss Deadpool if we don't get to 5. The saddest of all sad boys, Iceman.
I mean, Mobius says no.
Oh, sorry. I misunderstood the terminology. I think.
Okay.
I meant cut it, like not top 5.
Then Deadpool is gone. Got it. My bad.
Yeah.
So, Iceman?
Mobius says cut it.
Rip.
Cut it.
Yeah. Like,
Korg.
I would be very shocked if it was top 5. Very good one cost, but just not top 5.
I would say he's my 5th. So,
I think he's likely my 5th too. So, can we keep him as a maybe for now?
but Glenn? What do you think, or did you agree with Dan here?
I agree with Dan.
Yes.
I think that's true of the vast majority of one-cost cards. They're all very, very good, but yeah, top 5 is very.
We gotta call
contentious.
the elite right now. We can't just go with. I think the 12 on the list are all good. It's just we have to cut to 5.
Okay, I can live with that. Okay, fine. All right, but I'm gonna bleed for this next card, Maria Hill.
Honestly, I don't think I'm a good opinion because I haven't tested it so much since her buff. I'll say I'm impressed, but I'm not sure it's top 5 yet. But there's so many good 2s that it might be top 5, and I haven't seen it yet enough. So happy to follow the crowd here.
I've been enjoying playing Maria Hill, so I'm going to say keep her on the top 5.
I'm gonna say add it, but I will say like I'm kind of curious where this card would land if Loki didn't exist, and we will literally never know. But I am curious.
So, but also,
Well,
like, if Elsa didn't exist, right? That second Elsa sometimes is backbreaking.
I mean, there's so many cards that are backbreaking. I mean, Elsa, Angela, Jeff. There's a lot of cards that are really, really good.
An Armor, a Mobius, a Luke.
Armor, Mobius.
2 is going to be a bloodbath. We just listed 9 cards. All right.
Yes.
Okay, Snowguard.
If Mario Hill is in top 5, Snowguard is never top 5 since the nerf.
I don't own Snowguard, and I've only ever seen Snowguard played like against me like twice because I wasn't playing very much when she was super powerful. So I'm gonna say no.
Want me to go while you think?
Yeah, let's. I guess it's an interesting spot because Snowguard is frankly very strong, but I'm not sure how much of that is also attributed kind of to a higher play rate among a really concentrated strength group of players. Like Snowguard's ownership, less people have Snowguard. Like Roy just said, it's a relatively uncommon sight. But among the people who have it, she performs very well. But those are also players who, on average, perform better. So that's she's an interesting case. I will go with the crowd here on cut it.
So I'm at it, and I'm actually going to fight for this. I think it's game winning. I think a 1-drop that can win you the game, like without the entire deck being built around it, is extremely rare. Its downside in most decks is +2 power for Collector and then +2 cards for Loki, which is phenomenal. But that bird is insanely strong. And I'm going to go a step further. I think this was one of the top 5 cards in all the game before it the auras went to 3. Like
if we're talking pre-nerf Snowguard, yes. But we're talking post-nerf Snowguard.
So I think it's worse, and I think we overrate because we're human how much worse it is.
I'm not human.
Yeah.
I mean, no,
I'm a robot. I'm okay with that.
As the kids would say, you're a bot. All right.
I mean, we've only got 3 left, and we've only got 2 things on the list.
No, we don't have 3 left. We have 4 left because there's one. I'm not gonna fight for it. I'm gonna threaten to leave for it.
All right. Well, we'll get there. Glazer, what's the next one?
Quinjet.
I think it's an ad. I think if Mobius wasn't in the game, Quinjet would be top 3, and it's just not played because Mobius is there. But it's just such a good... It's not like Iceman, which was fringe and Mobius cut it out. Quinjet, if you remove Mobius, goes back into the game and is a problem immediately. So I guess it's not top 5 if Mobius exists, but it's top 3 if it doesn't exist. I don't know what's the average of this. So right now, no, but it should.
I'm much closer to keeping Quinjet in because Quinjet is cheap and playing it on 1 forces certain plays from your opponent, like not holding back a Mobius and other things that I think are really interesting. But I do agree generally with Den's sentiment, but I'm much closer to keeping it. But I still think we've got to boot this one from the list, but I have a nice eye on it.
Yeah, I'm on, not today, but in the lengthy history of the game. I did want to pause very briefly because before we started, I spot checked you on whether we wanted to count Infinity Stones, but I actually also meant to ask because there are some missing from the list, if that was intentional.
Nope, we add at the end. I just filled up the screen and stopped. And then I figured anything anyone wanted to add, they would just say at the end, and then we can go add, drop, cut at the end. So next up, X-23.
I know nobody's going to follow me on this, but yes, it is.
I lose this card all the time. So yes, I will. I will agree.
You don't have to convince me. I'm on yes.
I mean,
Okay.
it's
I thought I had to fight harder for it.
no, it's unanimous.
It's also one of my favorite cards that I had a hand in making. So yeah.
It's
I, mean,
love
I
Laura.
think it's one of the most interesting releases of these past few months, honestly.
it's so much more balanced
you.
than it looks like too, right? Like it's both really good and doesn't feel like it completely breaks the game, which is nice.
It's like it's unbalanced when you're super smart, and I don't
Yes.
think we've reached the level of play in Marvel Snap where this kind of card is imbalanced.
Okay. All right, Blade, and then we'll add to the list.
I think a good discard would make Blade top 5, but discard is not good enough for Blade to be top 5 right now.
Yeah, all my cubes.
It's paying the fact that discard is not that strong, I think.
Yeah, I agree with Den here. I lose cubes every time I get in my heart that I want to play discard. So bye, Blade.
Yeah, I love playing with Blade. I especially enjoy the rework, and I'm glad we did that. But yeah, he is not a top 5 card.
All right, I'm totally on dropping Blade. Den, what card did you want to add?
I mean, it's a shame Nightcrawler is not on this list.
Is Nightcrawler okay? So here's what I want to say, and we can talk about it. I'm not sure Nightcrawler is better than Snowguard.
I will take a plane and fight you for that sentence.
Let's go.
We live in the Elsa meta. Nightcrawler is the best one cost in the game when Elsa is in your deck, even better than Kitty Pryde in my opinion.
Ooh. Roy?
I'm okay with Nightcrawler being on this list. And you know what? Den, I think it should be above Snowguard.
Thank you.
It's actually a really funny situation because it's the exact opposite of Snowguard, right?
Mhm.
Like Snowguard has a low ownership rate and a really strong performance rate, and Nightcrawler has the highest ownership rate and a good performance rate, but it is not Snowguard. So in trying to like rank it objectively, they're really difficult to compare. But I believe they're very close. And I'll say that I think Nightcrawler might be top 5.
All right, so
right now.
Defend that, Glazer.
That might be top 5, and so might Snowguard is fine. That is literally 5. So what we have to do now is ask Glenn what his ad is.
My ad, I mean I have I guess 2, but I guess I'll start with one that will quickly communicate the other, which is Ebony Maw.
And that's 0.
Oh, interesting. I mean,
yes,
the card is in
zero
Shuri.
is the other.
The card is in Shuri, so you got to think it's a good win rate.
So, all right. So can I argue that we just pick one since they're both basically the same damn card? They go in the same deck at the very least at any competitive level. So which one, Maw or 0?
Let's go Maw. Is funnier.
Okay, and it makes Nina happy somewhere.
So, but is Ebony Maw just the blade of a better deck? Like,
Yep, but the deck is real good.
But we said the metagame matters. So
Oh, yeah, we did.
All right, so that is 6 cards that we need to rank.
I'm for what it's worth, I am on 0 is better than Ebony Maw.
Ooh.
Oh. Right? Somebody would get the octagon. We had no choice.
All right, so now we need to vote, right? So Den says Maw, Glenn says 0. Roy?
Oh, I don't want to fight over this one. I got Nightcrawler. I'm happy.
Right. So, but we don't have Nightcrawler because there's 6 things on the list.
I mean, I could definitely see why 0 is better because 0 has more general utility than Ebony Maw, right? Like combos with more cards. So if we're gonna pick one of the two, then
Yeah, that's my
yeah.
All right. So let's just start ranking them, and then whatever we'll fight over the last one. So I would argue that Kitty Pryde is the best one drop in the game. Are we okay with that? Or are we not okay with that?
I wouldn't say best, but yes, it's top 5. No discussion for me.
Well, we got to rank them now. So
we got to rank them.
So the cards are Kitty, Maria, Nightcrawler, X-23, and I'm probably giving up on Snowguard, so it's 0.
I do think Kitty
Yeah,
should be
sure.
number 1. Like
You think who should be number 1?
Kitty.
Yeah, sure. If we're taking metagame into context, there are way too many damn cards that work with it.
Glenn, you okay with Kitty number 1?
Yep.
All right. What?
So can we already call the next nerf, or is she okay for a few weeks?
No.
I'm going with my heart on these rankings.
Yeah, not
the data.
not data. Yeah,
I
heart.
think we'll add one more further disclaimer. Everything Glenn says in this segment is his opinion in this moment and not an official endorsement from...
Do not take
Secondary.
out of context of us trying to say stupid
And then
things.
next OTA is every number 1 nerfed. And we're like, no, what? We were kidding.
I certainly have, like, obviously context I can't get out of my brain, but yeah, I'm not like looking at the sheet and giving like, the values here.
Would be pretty fun. Glenn, what's your opinion? Give me a sec, and he's like obviously reading something on the side and then answering.
That third monitor there is...
Like, I'm 72% win rate sure that Kitty is. Okay, so Kitty 1, and then number 2... Is it?
I mean, to me, if Kitty is 1, Nightcrawler is number 2 because they work with the exact same card in the exact same deck.
Yeah.
Except Nightcrawler also works with Craven.
That's not exactly true, though, right? Kitty's also in the Shuri Kitty deck, which does still exist. Is still a very reasonable, popular deck.
And Bounce.
Actually, I checked the decks today, and Nightcrawler was in it as well. Maybe not in all
the Shuri
lists.
Kitty deck?
Yeah, it was in there. The 3-1 cost were Kitty, Forge, and Nightcrawler from the data I had access to.
I didn't check it like today, but I checked the stuff for last week. And to be honest, I don't even remember if I saw it there. But I just remember that the deck exists.
But can we go with our heart and make X23 number 2?
My heart is okay with that.
Arguments?
Yeah.
I think it's a reasonable choice.
X23 number 2, then Nightcrawler 3. We okay with that?
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm very happy with that.
And then Maria
Sure.
or 0 for 4?
I think if we look at deck's contribution and which deck is better, it probably is 0 into Maria. But Maria is the better ceiling. 0 is probably more reliable overall. So I don't know. What do we like? Reliability or potential?
I like Maria better. I don't think she's as good. Right? Yeah. Glenn?
I like both cards quite a bit. I think I'll give 0 on. I'll let his history stand on him. He's proved himself. He's had a long time to demonstrate what he's about. So I think I'll take 0 over Maria.
All right. On to 2 drops. All right. Oop. All right. The first 2 drop to discuss is Angela. Add or cut?
Add.
Right?
Add.
Glenn?
Did Roy said?
Yeah, he said add.
I didn't know if Roy said.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no
I missed it.
No
yeah, add.
Okay. Next up, Zabu.
Add.
Ooh, this is so much harder with Mobius around, but oh man. I'm gonna take a controversial take here and say cut.
I'm going to say today this season cut.
Yeah. I'm sad, but I think it's a cut. It's like my favorite card. It's not my favorite card. Whatever.
It's
Jeff.
not your favorite card.
No.
Add several times.
I'm gonna ask, what do we replace Jeff with?
Nothing can stop you from adding Jeff.
Fair enough.
Exactly. Add it in every location, wherever you want.
Cutest card in the game.
Luke Cage.
Really good, but probably misses the mark by just a bit. I think it's like 6 to 8. So, cut.
Oh, I've got Forge in the wrong spot. I made this a week ago.
Yes.
Oh, we forgot Forge.
I made Forge back pre-OTA because I've been planning this forever. Can Forge just kick off Maria Hill and then we go on with life?
No. Nah.
I
Forge
think
is
Maria Hill's stronger than Forge.
Yeah, Forge is in top 5 right now.
Isn't top 5?
At least no deck has shown that Forge would be top 5 if Mobius wasn't stopping Beast from being really good.
Okay.
I think. But in the current setting, Forge is in top 5 as a 1 or 2 cost.
No, that was enough agreement for me.
I think that's about right.
All right, so Roy, you're on Luke, I believe.
Sadly, Luke Cage is one of my favorite cards in the whole game, but cut.
Yeah, I'm on cut. I think he's very powerful when he's powerful, but
Shadow King.
I'm gonna say add because I think he's a really good number 5.
I'm gonna kick the can on this one. Shadow King is again another one of those cards I don't own, so I don't have a huge amount of experience with him. So I'll kick.
I think I gotta kick him just because it's so competitive.
Okay, so
But I think he's in a scrap for 5th for sure.
I'm going to write maybe 5, so that I have that note in case upon further discussion. All right, Mysterio.
No, way too competitive for Mysterio, unfortunately.
Agreed.
Oh, it's such a dunker ad.
I think it's an easy ad.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah, Mysterio's incredible.
Yeah, I think Mysterio is fantastic.
I think Mysterio is really good. It's just
I mean,
I want to see what are we gonna cut to make Mysterio into top 5.
Well, okay. Well, let's keep going. Let's add Mysterio for now. We can cut him. All right. So I'm gonna guess on this one. Mobius.
Yeah, add.
I already traveled into the future thanks to Mobius and found out that he's on the list as number 1.
I will say I think he is in the same scrap for 5th actually.
Ooh.
But so I'm on maybe.
All right. I think this is an easy one. Daredevil.
Unfortunately, cut.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm gonna have to go with cut too.
If it was a list for coolness, he would be right in.
Definitely.
But I'll go with cut for bests.
Armor.
I feel like we're not gonna keep him on the list, but it's so hard to say cut right now, so I'm gonna say maybe.
Well, that's 6. So, Glenn. Or sorry, Roy.
I think armor should go on there. I think armor is central to life.
It's just way too many good cards.
I know. This is way too many good cards, but I think armor is up there.
I think 2 is the best cost slot, which is what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Glenn.
Yeah, I think armor's in the same scrap that everyone else is in, but like Luke Cage, I don't think he's in the top half of that scrap. So I would say cut.
I'm a cut for armor, but so is armor going to go above Mobius or Shadow King? Probably not, right?
For me, she goes above Shadow King, but that's just my take. But.
Yeah, for me, Mobius is above, and then armor and Shadow King are fighting.
All right, so I'm going to throw it on literally the same line as Shadow King for the time being. Okay. Elsa.
Just don't ask.
Can we just all agree on Elsa and move on?
Yeah. Don't ask about it. Like,
Yeah.
Glenn, do you want to cut Elsa?
No.
Okay, good. Then you know what? Elsa.
But we are cutting Forge, right?
We kind of technically have to. I've edited this 18 times, and I've looked over Forge every time. All right, whatever. Craven.
I sympathize.
If this was the start of the list, I would have said yes to Craven and then realized he shouldn't be there. But because it's the bottom of the list, I already know he's not going to make it.
Yeah.
I am very excited to beat him up on Friday when I play Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation 5, but I am not excited to play him in Marvel Snap right now.
He's in my scrap for 5th. So I guess I'll say add it just to make it more complicated.
Fair. All right. Silk and then any additions. So Silk.
I think Silk should make it. I can't say why, but my guts is telling me Silk makes it. I think like in that scrap of 5th, I think Silk is above all the ones we mentioned.
Okay. Right.
Again, Silk card I don't own, card I don't see that much. I will skip.
I spent a full month being mystified as to why Silk was not tearing it up, and now Silk is tearing it up. Silk is an ad for me.
Silk is an easy ad for me. I think she's one of the best cards in the game. All right, so we have
one of my favorite cards I had nothing to do with.
We have technically like 10 cards. So let's agree number 1 is Elsa. Does anyone want to fight that Elsa is number 1?
No. I mean, 1, 2, and 3 are Elsa, Jeff, and Angela. Honestly, I think.
Agreement or disagreement?
I mean, either for me, Mobius or Elsa is the number one. So
I think that's a reasonable order.
Okay. So Elsa, and then Jeff, then Angela?
Yeah, I think that's my top three in that order.
Okay. I like it. All right, so now we have ready. Oh wait, we fundamentally agreed on Silk, right? Silk number 4, okay for everybody?
I don't know. It's to me 4 and 5 is Mobius and Silk. I'm not sure of the order.
Oh, let everyone pick just our two. I'm Silk and Mysterio. Right?
I think I'm also Silk and Mysterio.
Oh,
sure.
Well, Silk is in then. That's 3 Silks. So
I don't have strong specific opinions there, except we're just gonna ignore Sue, right? This list. There's no Invisible Woman. We're not even gonna talk about her.
Invisible Woman and Mirage are both off the list, but I didn't feel it pertinent to add them.
Okay.
I mean, they're nice to know they exist, but none of them are top.
It's just the twos are nuts. Oh.
Yeah,
they're both very good.
Yes, it's just very good doesn't make it right now.
So so we're between, in all honesty, Mobius and Mysterio, right?
I mean, we got 2 Mysterios, 1 Mobius, so I guess it's Mysterio. Unless Roy wants to give a vote to Mobius.
He does, though.
I do want to give the vote to Mobius.
So it's 2-1-2. What do we do? Do we ask Brody?
I mean, I think I think we just go with Glazer.
Let's ask Brody. Honestly, he gets to ref.
All right, fair enough, Braude. Just unmute. Oh, go ahead, Glenn.
Before Braude rules, I will say threats are better than answers. Ooh. And then I will pass.
Okay, well, I'll say every single deck is better than the deck with Hitmonkey in it.
All right, fair enough. So,
which 2 cards?
Mysterio or Mobius?
Mobius.
Oh,
fair enough. I would have went Mysterio. Okay. Look,
we're all wrong about stuff sometimes.
Look, Mysterio is.
Is Mobius a threat or an answer? Like he's kind of a little bit of both.
He's a 2, but Mysterio's a 2/18 right now half the time. All right, whatever. We finished that.
Mobius is the most pure, one of the most pure answers in the game, I think.
Yeah. All right, we are on to our top 5 just for listeners. Elsa Bloodstone is number 1. Jeff the Baby Land Shark is number 2. Angela is number 3 because Angela's been in the top 5 of this forever. Silk is number 4, and Mobius taking out Mysterio for number 5. And it's never going to be as hard as it was for those 5, just so everyone knows. All right.
Yeah.
We are on our 3 cost cards now. One more. There we go. Cosmo.
Oh my god, there's so many trees.
Yeah, sorry. Half of these are just easy cuts, though.
Yep.
So Cosmo is an ad for me.
I can't say no to everybody's least favorite dog in Marvel Snap. Go Cosmo.
Threats are better than answers. There's so many good threats at 3 cost. Cut Cosmo.
I am also a cut Cosmo. I don't think Cosmo is relevant right now.
Okay.
So let's leave it as a 50-50 if we end up there, but there's a lot of 3s. So
I was keeping it for like a 5th position, so I'm not mad about cutting it.
Let's just cut it. All right, Surfer.
I'm gonna say cut after the Forge nerf because I haven't seen it. I've seen it literally 0 times.
I think Surfer is too timeless to cut, so I will add. But for me, I think Surfer would be 5.
I've thought about it, and I think I am on a surprising cut. I actually expected him to be a lot better, right? Like literally this week that I think he is from my own play.
Last time we did this, I had to fight to get Surfer in number 5th, and I think he's gotten worse since then, not better. So I think he's a cut. Electro.
If we're going on right now, is not in.
Makes me sad, but ramp decks are kind of bad right now. So, goodbye.
Way too flexible. The game is way too flexible to play 1 card a turn, unfortunately.
Yep. Cut.
How the Mighty Have Fallen. Wave.
I mean, out. Just complain to Mobius, girl.
I think Wave is in a permanent dance with Mobius, and I actually think she should be on here because the fact that this card still exists is actually a force in the meta.
I think the fact that she exists is the only reason any of us would look at Mobius as a top 5 potential. But that I think that kind of means only one of them can be top 5 at a time. So I will say cut wave.
And threats are better than answers. I hate Wave. Wave is like my least favorite card in the game. It's literally the reason I like Mobius. Venom.
I'm gonna say yes. I like Venom.
I can never vote for Venom, so I cut.
I've 100%ed both Spider-Man games, and I'm probably going to take a day off of work to do the next one, so I'm going to go ahead and say add Venom.
I just think Venom's like the most important card for a destroy deck, bar none. So, like, I think that it has a place. Okay.
Definitely.
Killmonger.
Add.
Agreed.
Cut.
Wow.
I am also a cut, but that's enough to get it on the list.
I need to hear why, though.
Threats are better than answers. I just would rather be the person they're trying to Killmonger than the person trying to Killmonger them.
We're gonna have.
Why can't you be both? Wait. There's a deck called Destroy where you kill your own one cost and you just get the bonus of killing the opponent's one as well.
I think that deck's sweet, but we didn't put Deadpool on the top 5, so I got
X23 is top 5.
Yep. X23 is top 25. But like I think the best destroy deck is also not playing X23 or Deadpool, which is a typical. It varies, but like Shuri Nimrod is my favorite, and my second is Phoenix Force, and neither of those decks play either of those cards.
Wait, you should be playing those cards together, Shuri Phoenix and Phoenix Force, right? Like, come on.
Yeah, you can do. You can. You don't have to, but yes,
you have to. All right. Okay, so I'm going to argue that Killmonger is a wait and see. Is that okay? Can we just figure out Killmonger as a spot later? All right. Lockjaw, more doggos.
Add.
I gotta vote for the dog.
I've also one more thing on Killmonger. Sorry, I know this is annoying, but I will say if I'm gonna Loki people, I would rather not be playing with Killmonger because I'd rather play one cost with my Loki. So yeah, on Lockjaw I'm on cut, but sad cut. I love Lockjaw.
No, it can't be cut.
I'm on a cut.
It's the best 3-drop in the game.
I don't think so.
I think it has the highest potential of any 3-drop in the game.
Yeah, and that's enough to put him as top 5.
Oh, I don't think so.
It also has the lowest potential, so that's tricky.
So
it has the lowest potential if you don't use your snaps and you don't deck build. If you take into account these two parts of the game.
So what's Lockjaw doing in the current meta, if we care about the current meta, right? Like, it's in a couple of middling decks. It's not a force. It's just a card.
Yeah, like, as a card, I would say Lockjaw is, like, probably a pretty easy top 5 card. But in the larger context of the format, I don't think he's very powerful right now.
That's where
I think it's very powerful. It just doesn't have enough support compared to the rest.
Sure, but
that's
context matters. Support matters. It doesn't have support, so it can't be there.
Okay, then all our top 5 are going to be cards that work with Elsa at every cost?
No, but the entire meta isn't Elsa. It just feels like it is.
I do think it's fair to say, like, yes, so, like, that has a very big impact on the rankings for this. Like, if a card is bad versus Elsa, I don't think you probably want it here.
True, but still one Lockjaw. He's a nice boy.
Look, he could end up there. We're not done.
I think Lockjaw is a good example of bad versus Elsa, which is unfortunate for him.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Lockjaw just has a few problems right now. I don't think Lockjaw likes how wide a lot of the decks are going either. I don't think Lockjaw especially likes the Mobius meta. There's like, whatever. Let's not turn this into a Lockjaw podcast. Magic.
No. Nope.
The mighty has fallen. Awesome variant too for this month too. Like that Midnight Suns one is really beautiful, but I think my girl Magic. Nope.
One of my favorite buffs I ever made, but a cut.
Yeah, Magic is fantastic, but not on the list. Thanks, Legion. Sauron.
Win rate's gonna say he goes on there, but card doesn't deserve it.
I mean,
I don't even know what that means.
That means he's gonna be on the list, and I'm mad about
like,
it.
we put 0
That's
on
exactly
there.
what it means.
We got 0 on there, and
yeah, I mean, we all know that if we discussed 0 and Ebonimo in the 1 cost, we have to discuss Sauron in the 3 cost, and that makes me mad.
Yep. I say, he's got to be on there. We opened Pandora's box of Shuri cards. So
Look, if we all just forgot Ebony Maw and Zero existed, we could pretend Sauron didn't exist too. Sauron is,
Cancel it.
I hate Sauron a lot less than the rest of the Shuri package. Like, I just want to do things in games, right? And I feel like Shuri is just like put big number down, and like so I think Sauron is interesting, and the like that Shuri is just like I'm so big, no touch, is kind of dull. But I like Sauron. All right, whatever. Sauron's on. Yes, we're all.
I will say, if I'd have no idea what the answer to this question is. But if for the fate of the world, I had to guess which card had spent the most time as the highest win rate card in Snap, I would probably guess Sauron.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a card that's in only one deck, and it's been in a really good one.
And that deck has never been bad.
Yep.
It's yeah.
Right. Bishop.
It doesn't have to be a lot of games; just have to win a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bishop.
In the current context, maybe he can fight for 5th. Oh wait, I remember. Like, there's a card that's missing from this list.
We'll add it at the end. I already have 16. I can't add everything. All right, cut.
I just realized, my bad. Like, I missed it when I read the list too. I just realized now when we talked about Bishop.
Okay. Right.
Keep.
I'm on cut.
I too am on cut. I think it is the worst part of the packages it's in.
Okay.
This 2s are
It's really good though.
yeah, but 2s are really good, and 2s and 1s are better than Bishop usually, I think.
Yes.
Storm.
Nah, way too much move in the meta.
Yep. Cut.
Yep.
Rock Slide.
I don't think it's top 5, but maybe it is. I don't know.
I'm gonna say cut.
I will also say cut.
I was going to argue for ad, but I'm not winning a 3-1 fight. So, Patriot.
I mean, once again, the card probably deserves it, but the Forge Nerf probably pushed it out.
Patriot is like one of my least favorite cards in the game, so I'm gonna just vote him out on sheer just like frustration with this card over the last year. Oh my god, a year. Glenn?
I think like Venom was my 5, and I think Patriot's my 6 is how it's gonna wind up.
Yeah.
So I'll vote him out.
I think Patriot probably belongs higher, but we don't play the deck every time it gets nerfed until someone needs to again, and then it's really good again. So for the time being, it's out. Brood.
I mean, we cut Silver Surfer and Patriot out, so probably Brood has to follow them.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, so the number 1, Loki.
All right, we're not even gonna pretend.
I mean, do we want to pretend?
I don't know. We pretended for Elsa.
Okay, fine. Loki.
Ad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to watch his show in a few hours.
Yep. Add.
Spidey.
I don't know. Maybe 5, but I'm not sure. Like, I'm happy to follow the crowd on here.
I think in honor of the release of Spider-Man 2 on PS5 this Friday, I can't not vote for Spider-Man here.
I'm on ad for Spider-Man.
Yeah, also fantastic redesign. Okay, I'm on ad for Spider-Man 2. I think Spider-Man's an easy ad. Den, what did I forget?
So one that I don't think is top 5, but I really think it's a great card, and we should always discuss it, is Polaris. It's not played, so it's not top 5 at all, but I just like Polaris. And one that could actually maybe make the list is Tor, because kind of the Soren treatment. It's not played often, but when it's played, it's big.
I don't hate that.
We are missing pretty strong card in my personal experience, although Den's already bashed it. So it's certainly worth talking about, which is Hitmonkey.
Oh, we haven't. Yeah, we didn't have Hitmonkey.
Yeah, Hitmonkey is probably on the list.
I mean, you guys fought for Mysterio and forgot Hitmonkey.
Look.
I did not forget Hitmonkey. I just waited.
Look, I forgot Hitmonkey. I tried, but there's a lot of cards in this game. All right, so we're gonna add Hitmonkey. That probably means Thor's not making it because that's 6 cards. Fair?
Yeah.
So the only spot we have to figure out is Killmonger or Lockjaw.
For fifth?
That'll be fifth, I believe, because those are the only ones we disagreed on.
I have Lockjaw over Killmonger.
Oh wait, that's the sixth spot. We already have
I
five.
bet-
Excuse me, I just
I was
can't
gonna
count.
say,
I just can't count.
Yeah,
We've
sounds
got
like the fight for
Loki,
six.
Venom,
That's the fight for-
Sauron, Spidey, and Hitmonkey.
Okay, so Loki is one. I assume we all agree.
Yeah.
Number two. Is it Hitmonkey and I'm just really dumb?
I don't know
Depends
why,
on
but-
how you weigh things.
Yeah, because they're all pretty synergistic. I mean, Venom and Hitmonkey work in very specific conditions. I could see Spider-Man being played outside of Move.
I don't like super care what order we put them in. I think getting to the 5 is the fun part. So
Yeah.
let's go Loki, Hitmonkey in honor of his deck being really good right now. And then let's do Sauron to make Den angry. And then Venom or Spider-Man, Spidey fans.
I think Spidey's ahead of Venom.
Done.
Yeah,
That's
agreed.
pretty close. I think like Venom, Spidey, like Patriot, Thor, and even Killmonger are all kind of in a scrap,
Yeah,
very
they're-
close to each other.
There's kind of a bunch from like 4 to 8 where...
Wildly,
Yeah.
the last time we did this, not a single 3 has carried over. That is wild. All right.
I mean,
That is wild.
Okay. 4 cost cards. Okay. Time for a fight. Shang-Chi.
in.
Shang-Chi, Sean, he's got to be in there.
Which deck that's great is Shang-Chi in right now?
You would know better than I would, but I think latter versions of Loki often play Shang very well. I think Conquest, he's an active trap, but I think in ladder, I think he's really good.
I am uncut. I just don't think he has a strong deck. I think he's a strong card without a good home right now. Which, to be fair, was somewhat intentional.
Yeah, that was very understood the second I saw Alioth. I was like, oh, this is the 6th play, not Shang, right? Like, if you're going, yeah. Let's keep it for now, and it's going to be hard. Like, 4 isn't that strong. It's going to be hard for me to not see him end up in the top 5.
I don't know, I can see him out of 5.
I just don't think there's you think there's 3 really great cards here, and then a bunch of meh stuff. Whatever.
I think we can discuss
Hey,
it. But I think I can
Rockslide
rank
is
it
still
out.
here too, because apparently.
Wow, Glazer, wow.
That's an old one.
Oh, so
I just looked it
Wow.
over. All right,
that's not last week.
it was 6 months ago. Dracula.
Yes, I mean, we discussed Blade and said Blade isn't good enough because of discard, but Dracula is the reason why we keep playing discard. So, yes.
Then convince me.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think he's probably fifth for me.
I think there's no chance I'm putting Dracula over Shang, but I will add Dracula for now. And
Threats are better than answers.
Dracula is
So-
a 20 power card you can't change.
So yes, but Shang is a answer that's played around like it's a threat.
No, that's just the vulnerability of being an answer.
That's
not
fair.
that's not a secret advantage. That's the drawback.
Fine.
Dracula as well. I mean,
Yes.
you say that argument, but Dracula as well. Sometimes you have a 5 power Dracula, but the opponent just doesn't play on the lane because they know they lost it.
Yeah. All right.
Right.
So I know Den's answer to this card, Iron Lad.
Iron Lad is the best card in the game.
I knew that was. There we go. That's the
Thank
answer I
you.
expected.
I don't know who designed this, but that person gets
I'm
all my
assuming it's
votes
Glenn
for
'cause he said
future
thank you.
whatever.
So
It is the first card I designed.
Well done.
I'm very
sort of
very glad you did.
yeah, I agree. Let's let future. Well, I guess it's spoilers. Anyway, yes, Iron Lad.
I will certainly approve Iron Lad.
Can we all just be sad for Mr. Negative together?
Bye bye.
Ugh, yeah.
I'm crying in black and white.
He's ranked -1, so he's technically very close.
All right. I have an argument for Darkhawk once you all say cut. So go ahead, Den.
I'm not gonna say cut. I'm gonna say maybe fight for the bottom of top 5.
I agree with Den.
add, and I think he's stronger than they think.
I think Darkhawk is phenomenal, and I think people just stopped playing him because they thought he was bad. Which
there's a pretty good new deck some people have been playing since the Black Widow buff that he's been solid in.
Yeah, the thing that is that the one with Man Thing?
I don't remember for sure, but I think so.
I did a video on that like 2 days ago. That deck is sick. I played it right before we casted. All right, Enchantress.
I mean, if Shang-Chi isn't in there, are we gonna say Enchantress is in because she's a 4/5 and he's a 4/3? But I mean, there's not many
we forgot Rogue.
decks with Enchantress either.
Well, there's a reason I think we forgot Rogue, and I think it's because Enchantress is going to get cut here. I think this specific answer is a kind of a low point right now.
Yeah, I think right now Rogue is a better answer for the kind of problems you want to solve with an Enchantress.
Yeah, I think Rogue is actually really good and about to be having a moment. All right, Rock Slide, because I'm bad at things. Shuri. Shuri.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the fight with Iron Lad for number 1. Phoenix Force.
I mean, I just want the card to have a vote, so I'm going to say yes.
I really have no idea how to evaluate Phoenix Force. I haven't since the card came out, so I'm going to bow to I'm going to kick this forward to a future discussion.
I'm biased because I love the card, so I will add it. But I do think it's actually one of the better times to be playing it right now.
Yes, it's so good right now.
So I think Phoenix Force is working properly from being broken. I think if Phoenix Force worked with multiple men, it would be one of the best cards in the game, like, period. I think it's great right now.
What do you mean it doesn't work with multiple men?
The copies should move.
You mean with cloning?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no, that would be stupid.
But it's what's supposed to happen. It's been confirmed multiple times.
Yep. It is a bug, and we are working on it.
Okay.
It was Absorbing Man.
Right now, it's barely played, so probably a no.
Agreed with Dan.
Sure, I'll go no.
I think a week ago it was like number 2.
No. It was never number 2. I mean, since Iron Lad and Shuri were in the game, nothing else has been number 2 in my book.
Nah, I think Darkhawk was better for a little while. Whatever. And like the next card has at least an argument because we're counting we're counting what the card does, not just the card itself. Because otherwise, I have to put 6 evolved cards on this list. I have Evolutionary.
I think he'll fight for a top 5 spot.
Right.
Pass.
Yeah, I think he's in the scrap.
All right. I think Evolutionary is going to end up in because if you're just trying to get infinite, it's still really strong. Crossbones?
No, what the hell is it doing on the list?
Luck.
Having 4 cost.
And 8 power.
He was probably the best he's been a little while ago.
True, and that's still not even top 10 in his own cost.
All right, cool. Captain Marvel.
Unfortunately, no. I thought Elsa would make it top 5, but it didn't. It made it better, but not top 5.
I really wish Carol, who's one of my favorite characters, and the fact that her movie is coming out on November 10th, that she's.
Why are you advertising the shit out of MCU today?
I wish she was a better spot, but I'm going to sadly have to say we got to skip her.
Yeah, it's funny how much 1 point of power is worth, but I think she's outside right now.
So, can I actually ask a random question? This is totally off topic. Is it on purpose that I think there's 2 real breakpoints in power, like 4 and 5, and 7 and 8 are like both huge power breakpoints in cards? Is that on purpose? Is that even true?
There are a lot of breakpoints, kind of in different contexts, depending on like what the card is or whatever. But yeah, like I would say it's purposeful in that we observe them and like balance cards around like whether we want a card to hit the breakpoint or not. Like we think about whether we want a card to be able to be hit by Shang-Chi if it's at a higher cost, right? Like that's a thing that crosses our minds. We think about whether a card like should be able to beat Jeff or not if it's aggressing a lane in a specific way, that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
But it's not like we set out to make 3 the correct number or whatever. Just as you design cards, you make some things true, and then you have to adhere to what you made true.
Nice. Okay. Haha, I saw something.
Can I add one card to the list? It's not necessarily top 5, but I think it should be discussed.
Please?
Wong.
I hate Wong. Fine.
I know, but we still have to discuss it. I mean, it's if Negative is on the list, if like Phoenix Force is on the list, Wong deserves to be on the list of
That's true.
possible cards, I think.
That's true. It's just Alioth as a card.
True.
Only one that there are a few missing, but the only one that stands out to me as worthy of additional consideration beyond that is Typhoid Mary.
Oh yeah,
Same.
because that deck.
Yeah. Same logic as before, but like if we're gonna add Shuri, I feel like we're fine, so we're not just being like, look, it's good in Shuri.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got 7 cards. I'll make everyone here a deal. If we add Phoenix Force, we can cut Shang. Yeah.
Wait, to the 7 or to the 5?
Well, we'll be down to 6 then, because then if we cut Shang, we have Phoenix Force.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So since we're adding Iron Lad, Darkhawk, and Shuri, the fight is for 2 spots. Is Dracula, High Evolutionary, and Phoenix Force. I would like to cut Dracula.
Oh my god, it's so difficult. My heart is telling me cut High Evolutionary, and my brain is telling me your heart is right.
It's a pretty good scrap. I think I'd prefer to cut Dracula, probably.
Okay.
Huh.
Roy?
It's hard to say.
Yeah, cutting Dracula's fine with me.
Okay. So,
Oh my god.
Phoenix Force is number 5, High Evolutionary is 4. Number 1, Shuri or Lad?
The stats are gonna give it to Shuri, but Lad should have it.
Lad?
Yeah, I think it's Shuri.
Okay. So, what did I just lay? Okay, so Shuri, Iron Lad, Darkhawk, High Evolutionary, Phoenix Force. That is going to be the most controversial list in the world, and I'm here for it.
Engagement is good.
Send your emails to denccg at Marvel Snapstone. Sorry. We are on to our 5-cost cards, which I think are way more interesting than they were last time.
Yes.
Or do any of these not cost 5 anymore?
I think they all cost 5. I'm looking real
I
quick.
think you're good on this front.
All
Yeah,
right,
this
let's-
one I think you
I do
proved
think
it.
there's some that have nothing to do on this list, but they all cost 5.
Fair. Let's start with Sarah.
Oh, it got its ad very recently, but now it's an ad.
Interesting. I'll follow Den here because I'm more interested in a Mobius world, how Sarah is. But I'm just going to follow Den here because the smile on Den's face was very convincing to me.
Yeah, I think it's really a tight race. But I'll say ad, I guess. At least maybe.
I think she's going to get cut, but she has a chance to be added. Iron Man?
Probably an ad. I mean, it's the Shuri of 5 costs in a way.
I think Iron Man is one of the best cards in the game and one of the best evergreen or like what is he? He's pool 1, right? Like he's or series 1, right? Like I think he's just one of the best cards you get early in the game. So ad. Super cool card.
Yeah, it's one of the most difficult cards to get stats on because of that. But yeah, I'll say ad. I think he's certainly competitive with Sarah right now.
Professor X?
Cut because of context.
Agreed. I think he's at the
Unanimous.
worst place he's been in a while.
Claw?
It's just, I think it's nice that we just discussed Claw because he was really dead for a
love
very
Claw.
long time, but I don't think it's top 5.
I also love Claw. I've wasted a lot of time playing Claw, Omega Red decks. But I'm going to have to pass on him.
I think it's a pretty good time to be playing Claw right now, but he's not particularly great.
All around agreed. Legion?
Play rate is saying no.
I'm going to say ads just simply because I think Legion to me is one of those like pillar cards that is always you have to play around. And that's just shapes the meta, whether or not you see Legion in games or not.
Glenn?
Yeah, I think I am on, like, in the maybe pile.
Yeah.
But for conquest's sake, I'll say add.
Oh, good point.
I think he's still really powerful there.
I mean, I think like a solid 40% of the decks that play Alioth should just probably play Legion and are just doing it wrong. All right, Sandman.
Please make it a 5/5 again.
No, Sandman, go away.
Oh yes. Please make it a 5/3 Sandman is just a no, but please make it a 5/5 again.
No, don't do it.
It would be so good in this match.
Yeah, but I don't want it to be so boring. I don't want to play one card. I want to play cards. It's a card game. All right.
You're okay. You get to play cards until turn 5.
Turn 4, because you're playing it in ramp. All right, whatever. Roy?
Anyway, Sandman is one of my favorite cards, but sadly, I don't think
Yes.
he's very good right now.
Yeah, I would cut him.
Okay. Can we please decide on Red Skull or Taskmaster so we're not adding both? Because otherwise we have to add both, right?
Yeah, I think it's Taskmaster for the sake of it's in more decks. There's like the Destroyer combo and stuff like that, which are more fun to add.
Okay, I'm going...
And it works in Destroy and everything. Like, Taskmaster just has like double the amount of decks of Red Skull.
Okay, but no one can see this, but listeners, Glenn just visually reacted to that answer, so Glenn has to talk now. Because I think that was...
Oh, I just think it's Red Skull.
Of course it's Red Skull. I mean, every single
think
card
it's
in the
Red-
Shuri deck is going to be on the list.
Well, it's not just that, but I think it's not only that it's Red Skull, it's that all the, like, many of the other cards that Taskmaster copies should also be above it on this list. That's just how Taskmaster works. He's only good if you have one of the other cards we're going to put above him.
That's fair.
Yeah, but then I could say, like, who's going to play Red Skull if you don't have Shuri? They're both the product of something else.
Right, but I'm not ranking Red Skull versus Shuri. I'm ranking Red Skull versus Taskmaster, and Vision versus Taskmaster, and Nimrod versus Taskmaster.
Ooh. That's
Okay.
actually
I mean,
tough.
I'm not going to fight over... I'm not going to fight over
I
that.
am executive decision this because this is silly to me. We are Red Skull Taskmaster slashing, and if it comes to it, we will figure it out. Devil Dino.
Probably yes.
Really?
I don't know. I don't think it should be on the list, but I have no idea why I said yes, so I'm just going to stick with it.
It's very late in France.
I mean, I feel like Devil Dino is like one of those friends that you feel like shouldn't be your friend anymore, but they're still your friend for reasons that you
It's
can't
a toxic relationship.
Yeah, you can't quite figure out like why this person's still in your friend group.
He's a friendly red dino.
Yeah, but he's also a dinosaur.
I mean,
who
the
eats
new
people.
variant from the Gamescom
So-
has nothing friendly about it. It looks dope, but it's not friendly.
We're breaking down here. Glenn, are we keeping Dino?
Yep. I love Devil, but I'm going to say cut so that I can try and add another card later.
Yeah, I think we have to cut Devil Dino.
I'll go with that.
So I thought this was going to make it, and now I'm not sure. MODOK.
No.
Oof.
It's a no for me.
I'm just gonna say, we've been kind of anti discard in general, so I think we should be consistent. So I'm gonna say cut this card.
I won't fight it. I actually think he probably belongs top 5, but it's pretty tricky because I think he's like awesome card in a losing deck. But like even in that deck, he's almost like the Galactus of discard. Like when you draw the MODOK, you're like popping off. So
He's like Blade. He's just paying.
I don't know
Wait, he's
that.
better than Blade. All right. Well,
Yeah.
All right. Again, cards I want to make it that I'm not sure will. Nimrod.
I mean, if MODOK didn't make it, I don't see why Nimrod makes it.
Destroy is better. All right, right.
Yeah, but Destroy's not playing Nimrod much. I think the Shuri Nimrod deck is really good. It's just doesn't exist enough. People need to play that deck more.
Alioth. Right?
Alias played
No,
Ghost Rider the day MODOK. Ghost Spider the day MODOK. My bad.
I'm gonna say
The
add
Nimrod.
Nimrod.
Alright, I'm tired.
Add Nimrod? What?
He's in the scrap for me. I think he's like right next to Sarah, basically.
All right, he's close.
So I'll say add.
Close enough to add for now. Okay. I'm assuming this is an easy no. Arrow.
Yeah, no.
Nope.
Nope.
Okay.
There's the one below it, just because of that.
Vision.
Yes. In the current meta, Vision is probably the best 5 in the game.
I think
I'm gonna trust Den here.
Yeah, I'm on Vision for sure.
Okay. Gamora.
What are you doing on this list, girl?
Hey,
I gotta
Not
pass
getting
on
in.
Gamora.
not
Yeah.
making it.
It's a good time to be playing Gamora, but cut.
Yes.
Black Panther.
What are you doing on this list, boy?
I pains me to cut Black Panther because this was actually one of my favorite cards I ever acquired. But I really have always enjoyed Black Panther. I think it's such a cool card. But I think we got to pass on T'Challa.
Okay, what do you want to
Yeah,
add?
I'm also on my cut.
We need to.
I wanted to make a.
God.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to make my case for Lady Jane Foster.
I would love to add
Ooh.
Jane.
Okay, I could see Jane being in discussion because she's a very specific card, but she's very good at what she does. And the
If
Tor
Wave
Miracle
is
deck,
bad, Jane is good. So.
and the Tor Miracle deck is really good right now.
Okay, let's throw Jane on the list. Anything else to add, or are we good to figure out our 5?
I kind of feel like we need to discuss Blue Marvel.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I don't think he's good in the meta. Elsa gives +3.
Yeah, if Rogue's good.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. We have Iron Man in the list.
Sure, but Elsa gives +3 and Blue Marvel doesn't. Right? Like
Yeah, but Blue Marvel is easily a 5'10 or 5'11 because you play Elsa in your deck.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
I'm not saying he's gonna be top 5. I just like to give cards that are props.
Okay. Oh, we just like Blue Marvel. I love Blue Marvel. Agreed.
Just feels like in a podcast about 5 costs, at some point somebody better say Blue Marvel and then
Yeah, that's reasonable.
All right. So there we have 7 cards. They are Sarah, Iron Man, Legion, Red Skull / Taskmaster, probably just Red Skull, Nimrod, Vision, and Jane. Can we cut Sarah?
Ooh.
So which cards are we 100% are going to be in the 5? Like Vision is in the 5.
I think
Vision.
I think Jane ends up in the 5 now that we discussed it.
and Legion.
And the Red Skull Taskmaster slot, whichever one
So
wins,
we-
certainly in the top 5.
Yeah, so we only have 1 left. So Vision,
So it's
Iron.
the last slot is what? Sarah, Iron Man, and MODOK? Or Nimrod?
Give me 1 sec. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy with any of those, to be honest. I don't feel super strong. I'm probably lower on Sarah, but then I think Den maybe knows something I don't. Then again, I don't know. You do often rate Sarah quite highly.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, the stats rate Sarah very highly,
but
but it's probably because when you're trying to get to Infinite, the card forms bots.
yeah, it's really good against bots. I don't think is a worthwhile for our
I mean,
purposes.
I'm very happy to get people mad and put Nimrod as the 5th.
I would live with Nimrod. It's Nimrod or Iron Man, I think.
I'm happy with Nimrod. Like, let's be hipsters
Yeah.
sometime.
All right. So Vision is
Sounds good.
Vision is number 1. Red Skull Taskmaster number 2. We all good with that?
Sure.
Jane or Legion for 3.
Jane.
Glenn, you.
Yeah, I think I like Jane better.
So Vision, Red Skull Taskmaster, really probably just Red Skull. Jane, who did I just delete? Legion, and then Nimrod. Oh no! Oh, okay. We're good. I can't believe Sarah didn't make it. Okay, we're on to 6 cost, and then we're on the home stretch. Okay, Dr. Doom.
6 cost cards.
Yes.
Yep. Go Victor.
Yep.
Everyone's yes on Doom. We can move on. Thanos.
I want to discuss it.
Right.
I say yes to Thanos. I just think that the card is perennially going to be powerful.
I'm on yes.
Time to upset Glenn. America.
I don't want to discuss it. It's going to be in there.
I agree with America too.
I feel like if America's a 6 cost card, then Thanos should be a 1 cost card. That doesn't seem fair at all.
Thanos is
Honestly, I like the assessment. I love the assessment.
then
Can America Chavez be a 0 cost card, actually? Like, can we have a category just for her? And the ranking would be like America, Wasp, and Yellow
All
Jacket.
right, fine. You know what?
Yeah.
Let's eliminate America from the list with the implicit understanding that she's a game mechanic, not a card.
All right,
I'm very excited for the theoretical America Chavez nerf, just for the record. And I'm gonna get flamed by the competitive community, but I just hate I don't like starting with 11 card slots in a deck. It feels wrong. All right, She-Hulk.
Nope.
I am gonna say that poor Jen over here is not in a good spot right now.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree.
Galactus.
Get out of here.
I'm legally obligated to vote yes for Galactus, but I'm sure he will not survive the culling, the purge.
I also will give Galactus a yes.
Ooh.
I think he's my 5th.
Galactus is 5th?
I mean, we just cut America. There's not that many good 6s.
True. No, I have 5 better than Galactus.
All right, Null.
Yes.
Yeah, Null's in a good spot.
Yep.
Wow, I was so no on Null. I am very outvoted. Okay. Death.
I would discuss Death as a 5th way before I discuss Galactus.
I want to table Death.
Yeah, sure. I'll say Table Death.
I'm a cut on the last 2, but I'm on my own here. Infinite.
It's not in the 5.
I don't think Infinite's in the top 5 either.
But Black Knight. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think he's in the 5. Lovely card.
Magneto.
I think it should be in the 5, but it's not in the current meta.
I think Magneto, isn't situated right now.
12 is a lot less than
Agreed.
28.
And the effect is really weak against Elsa.
Yeah. Ultron.
No.
Hard pass.
I think he's closer than people think, but yeah, I'm going to know.
Yeah, it's probably 11 when people would rank it 18 or something like that.
I think it's probably like 6, but people don't play Patriot outside of
6?
specific. Look, I think Patriot's still good and people just don't play it.
I think it's good. Like, I think you're going to lose by a few points every single time. And you're going to be like, oh, it's so close, but you're going to lose so many cubes in the end.
I don't think so, but all right. Hela.
Yes.
Yeah, I absolutely love Hela. It's one of my favorite cards in the entire game. So yes, always Hela and forever Hela.
I was expecting to fight it. I'll say add Hela. It's a good time to be playing Hela. I've been laddering with her a lot right now.
Yeah, I think Hela.
Hela, yes.
Hela is a very easy yes, I think, right now. Alioth.
Yes.
He's got to be, or it's got to be.
Okay.
Yep.
Leader.
No.
Thank goodness. No.
No.
Apocalypse.
Come on, let's give this card one card.
No.
Please.
No.
Well, we're going to give them Ella. That's okay. You know what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been really consistent at not having discard cards on our list. So, goodbye, APOC.
Can I just note quickly how quickly the game moves? And also that it's not, my computer's not letting me click back to this tab, so whatever. Hela, like, discard was in the best place it was 3 weeks ago.
Which discard?
The Apocalypse discard was in the best place like it ever was. Last time you were on this podcast, then we had it in the top 10 decks in Marvel Snap. It was in the best place it ever was.
This card has been top 3 at some point in the game span.
Right. So
lifespan.
Sorry, go ahead, Glenn.
I was just saying, like, I don't know if best ever, but discard was in a really great spot.
Yeah.
But after Loki, before Mobius, it was actually Loki's worst matchup. Oddly enough.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. And then, like, less than a month later, it's just like, ugh, discard. Who plays discard? Oh, and it's just.
I mean, Swarm got nuked.
Yeah. I just think that's cool. That's so.
No, it's not cool.
So look, the thing that I like about Marvel Snap, and this is not always popular with everyone, is I like a metagame that moves fast and changes a lot, so I always have something to think about. I don't like when it's just like, oh, like the month and a half that like Shuri Red Skull was the best thing was torture to me. There was nothing to think about. It was, does it beat Shuri Red Skull or is it Shuri Red Skull? Like the constant shifts are amazing. All right, Zola.
I think I already have 5 cards that are better than this, so no.
We have 7 on the list.
Agreed. Yep.
Is there any 6-drop?
Yeah, I'm uncut.
Any on 6-drop? I forgot.
I think we're
You
pretty
didn't
okay.
put Orca, but I think we're good. Or Living Tribunal.
Because Roy would insist we have Tribunal on the list, and I just can't emotionally handle that at this time of night.
I do love that card.
All right. So, okay. Let's actually start at the top. Doom or Alioth? Or is there something else you think should be number 1?
We're talking pure 6 in the context of the current metagame?
Mm-hmm.
I want to fight for Ella as 1 then.
No,
I think Ella is the best 6 in the current metagame.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't think I agree with that. I do think it's still Goliath.
I mean, Elias probably has the best win rate, but I think the best 6 is Ella.
I mean, what's the difference between those two things? I don't know how those statements...
Elias secures a position, Ella wins a game.
I mean, I don't know. I think Eliath wins plenty of games.
Yep.
Right.
Well, try not playing and just dropping Elias.
I mean, sure, but like if you don't play anything and also drop Hela, it doesn't do anything either. There has to be a deck around it. That's how card games work.
Yeah, but the deck around Ella works for Ella, while the deck around Alias just has a lot of other game plan. And it's just like, oh, that situation fits Alias, I'll play it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Ella is the most important 6 in the game right now for their deck.
Important, yes, I'd agree. Best and important are not synonymous.
Okay.
I think Goliath's the best and the most important. So, yeah, I think he's the
Please
number
don't
1.
tell that to people. They stopped playing it. Don't give them the idea to put it back in their decks.
I mean,
I'm the one who told them to stop.
I don't think it's... Yeah, seriously. I think it's real. I think it's the best 6. I think... All right, Claim and Glenn, could you... you can choose not to answer this, I guess. But, like, I think 6 is overall, like, in terms of density of quality cards, the weakest cost spot.
I think that is true right now, and it is mostly because Goliath exists. I don't think it's always been true.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be true forever either. But I think right now. Okay. Can I argue for Doom 2 and Hela 3?
Sure.
I'm not going to fight you.
Okay.
That's what I think. That's what I think it should be.
All right.
We're not hipsters for this.
All right. So for Thanos, okay for people?
I think I have null over Thanos right now.
Yeah? Okay.
All
So
right.
then null Thanos and we're done? Or does anyone want to argue Death or Galactus over Thanos?
Nah, we already have null. Death can be 6. And Thanos can be like 16 or whatever.
Roy or Glenn?
I think... What do we have? We have Goliath,
Doom?
Hela, Null.
Thanos.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Okay. All right. Can I ask a question? Based on your knowledge of the stats, what are we most wrong about?
Oh, I hadn't been thinking about it in that context at all.
So if you don't have an answer, it's not a big deal. I'm curious if like there's anything we just totally messed up.
Probably. My guess is our 1 costs are out of whack.
Interesting.
Because we should have 0 and Ebony Mods 1 and 2.
I don't know what the... I'm think like both the order and probably the composition are maybe off, depending on what you want to weigh. Like, win rate and cube rate are 2 different values, like population factors, like you can factor by the MMR of the players playing the cards. Like, it really depends on how you slice it, but that's my guess as to like the highest volatility.
Interesting. Cool. All right. I'm going to run us through our lists very quickly. assuming I can find the right spot. Number our top 5 1-cost cards, which we apparently did very poorly on: Kitty Pryde, X-23, Nightcrawler, Zero, and Maria Hill. Our 2 costs are Elsa, Jeff, Angela, Silk, and Mobius. Our 3 costs are Loki, Hitmonkey, Sauron, Spider-Man, and Venom. Our 4 costs are Shuri, Iron Lad, Darkhawk, High Evolutionary, and Phoenix Force. You heard it here first. Glenn hates Shang-Chi. Our 5 costs are Vision, Red Skull, but Taskmaster to avoid a bloodbath, Jane, Legion, and Nimrod, which is a strange list, but I love it. And our 6 costs are Alioth, Doom, Hela, Null, and Thanos. Any final thoughts from anyone before we go to variant of the week?
We could have
Lovely
been
lists.
more hipster. That's a good list. I think it's a good list. It could have been a little more fun, but it's a good list.
It's hard for me to be hipster.
Well, you have the answers to the test.
Yeah, but like,
Well, I don't have them handy, but like, I read them like 4 times a week, so it's kind of hard to not think about them.
I mean, even more than that, like, oh, what just happened? So, even more than that, I think it's worth knowing that, like, I lost my thought. Damn it. Thought's gone.
Yeah,
Roy, do you want...
I think our lists were like reasonable. So
All right,
Okay.
that brings us to the last segment of the episode, variant of the week, Mysterio. All right, Glenn, which of these 2 awesome Mysterios did you pick, Pixel or Dan Hip?
I picked Pixel. Got a really nice inked Pixel Mysterio, one of my favorites.
It is one of my favorites too, only outweighed by, I guess, everyone else picked the Dan. Oh, you also picked the Pixel?
I
Glazer
did not.
picked the Pixel.
I did
Oh.
not.
You picked it. So you picked the Pixel alongside Glenn here?
Den?
Dan, you're the one who picked the Pixel alongside Glenn.
We have way too many opinions in common with Glenn. It's incredible. we picked the same card, we picked the same variant, but the reason why I picked the Pixel is because there are not many Pixels in the game which are worth, and Mysterio probably is one of the best ones. Like the Crystal
that's
Bull
very
is
true.
so good in Pixel.
It's very cool. It was my first Pixel that I got like very fancy art on, so but I can't beat that Dan Hip though. It's so good. So good.
Yeah, but Dan Hip always wins. I feel like there was a Pixel that was competitive. He deserves credit.
Apparently at 3 in the morning, Den gets very hipster.
It's 4:40. At 3 I was still okay.
Sorry. Oh, that's love. All right.
All right, this brings us right towards the end of the episode where we get to say thank you for being on here. We'll start with you, Glenn. Thank you so much for being on the show and joining us for an awesome episode. Really appreciate you taking the time out of designing the cards for the game we love to come and talk to us for the last 2-ish hours.
Yeah, glad to be here. It's a lot of fun. Good to meet everyone.
So I get to talk. Oh, do you? Sorry, Rick.
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron. No, go ahead.
So I get to talk about Glenn now. Sorry, Glenn. There's a point at the end of the episode where I tell you all the good things about yourself. So, Glenn designs like specifically for me, like the constant changes, the dynamics of the game, all like specifically are exactly what I want in the game. I make a video every day with new decks, every single day. Usually too. And the fact that like with such a small card pool, we can do that is completely amazing and a testament to the work that Glenn and his team do. But more than that, I want you to find another game designer who's spending their late nights talking to small content creators in depth about every freaking relevant card in the game. You're not going to find that. Like, not only is like the design top notch, but like the passion for the game, the willingness to engage in the community is something we should never overlook. So Glenn, thank you. And I hope everyone continues to support you forever.
Oh, thanks. That's very flattering.
I'll say, Glenn, also, you were the one of the lead designers of Baldur's Gate, the Commander's Legend set, right? I really love that set. So I think you all did a really good job. So I wanted to also say thank you for that. I really enjoyed that.
Thanks. Yeah. Majority of that goes to Corey Bowen, who led the set after me. But yeah, thank you.
Awesome. All right, Den. Thank you again so much for joining us. We love having you on the show. Where can folks find you, Den, if they're looking for you?
Mostly on my Twitter, den_CCG, or on Marvel Snap Zone Discord. Or if you speak French, I have a very stupid YouTube channel where my goal is to post the stupidest video every single day because I play when I wake up, which is a terrible idea. Don't do it.
My turn to talk good about Den. So, like, Den is a content machine. He makes me look lazy because he writes like everyone's always like, "How do you do a video a day?" And I'm like, "Well, Den does coaching every day. He writes like 6 articles a day, and then he does a video a day too. Like, he's a machine. He's like one of the most influential voices of Marvel Snap, and he earned every second of it."
Awesome. All right. I'm just going to remind folks real quick where they can find us again on social media. Our Twitter/X is @SnapJudgeCast. We're on the Marvel Snap Zone Discord. You should definitely click the link in the description of this episode on your friendly neighborhood podcatcher or on the YouTube description and join the awesome Marvel Snap Zone Discord. Our email is snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com. Our Mastodon is snapjudgments with an E at tabletop.vip. And we are also on YouTube at Snap Judgments Pod. Well, that once again brings us to the end of this episode. Glenn, thank you so much for joining us. Den, thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot for having me. It's always a ton of fun.
Glazer, my friend, it is always a pleasure to have you and do these episodes with you each and every week.
Peace and love, everybody.
All right, friends, that brings us to the end of another Snap Judgments. Stay safe, make good choices, and keep on snapping.